This is Ian Rappaport from NFL Network. You're killing me, Smalls.
This is Bucky Brooks of the NFL Network. You're killing me, Smalls.
Hey, this is Chris Hack, president of the 76ers. I just want to say, you're killing me, Smalls.
Hey, this is former Sixer and Tar Heel George Lynch. Smalls, you're killing me.
Hi, this is Kenny Albert. You're killing me, Smalls.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Killing Me Smalls podcast, back from a 5-week hiatus, and there's so much to talk about. But I'll tell you what, you cannot be in this business if you're not willing to improvise, if you're not willing to try things differently. I've got one of my favorite guests. This is his second time on the show, somebody that I've looked up to my whole sports fandom life. So now I guess I can call him friend of the show, Bob Ryan. We had some technical difficulties getting him on the video stream. And right here, you see my microphone and you see the phone. And on the phone is Bob Ryan. And Bob, if you could say hello to everybody, I can get started and we can talk about what a weird podcast this is going to be.
I would love to say hi to everybody. Thank you very much. All my old friends in the Delaware Valley, speaking as a born and bred Trenton native. Hi there.
So, Bob, for those of you who don't know, I used to wake up every Sunday morning, turn on the sports reporters, and it would always be like, and Bob Ryan from the Boston Globe. But he's more than Bob Ryan from the Boston Globe. He is the 4-time National Sports Writer of the Year. He's a Kurt Gowdy Award winner and is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's written 14 books, including one in 2014 that I've not read yet, which is Bob's memoir about his life in sports. And of course, everybody knows him. He's on The Ringer. He's on all kinds of shows on ESPN. So Bob, officially welcome back to the Killing Me Smalls podcast.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So Bob, the last time we spoke, there was a rumor that Ben Simmons was going to go to Boston in some way, shape, or form for Jaylen Brown. And I believe your quote was, "I will go to the airport and not let him off the plane because I do not want a guy who can't shoot on my team." How do you feel about the fact that he is not a Boston Celtic after last week?
Relieved. and it's now the Nets situation, and I have more power to them. I'm very happy. I did not want to give up Jaylen Brown for him. He's the most perplexing player of stature in the history of the NBA. There's never been a player who has got accolades in one department, namely his defense, and that is so strangely inefficient at the other end of the floor, and willfully so, which is what bothers me. There's no excuse for his game. None. Zero. It's his fault. And that's what bothers me. What makes this man tick? I don't want any part of him. So Steve Nash has got the issue now.
How do you think that's going to work? I mean, listen, you dealt with Kyrie in Boston. Kyrie's an enigma. Steve Nash has the worst job in the world, don't you think?
It's not an easy one. He's going to be worth every cent that Mr. Joe Tsai is going to pay him to get through this. I understand the good things. There are going to be nights when they're going to score a lot of points. Ben's going to have 14, 15 assists. They're going to run up and down the floor. Kevin is going to have 35 points. Kyrie's going to have 35 points. Fine, and that's all good. The regular season, if of course how often they're going to be on the floor together and what night and what town they're in because of Kyrie. But if anything hasn't changed in the interim from the last time that you and I and everyone else saw Ben play, this free throw problem, this shooting phobia, if it hasn't changed, and when the playoffs come, what good is he? So I'm very much I'm curious, like everybody else. I'm curious to see what's going to be, but I just. To me, he's not worth the problem. He's not worth the aggravation. That's what because it is an aggravation.
On paper, it sounds great, right? You take a guy like Simmons and you surround him with shooters, and you look at elite defense and the fact that he can, some of those basketball stats will tell you that he is the best in the league at setting up 3-point shots. And, you've got KD, you've got Seth Curry, you've got, Kyrie when he feels like playing. They just signed Goran Dragic today. Joe Harris comes back. I mean, it all sounds beautiful on paper. It sounds like a mess to me.
Well, it does sound beautiful on paper, but you've got two, big buts. His but, which we just explored,
right?
And Kyrie's general everything but he doesn't leave teams in a happy way. I still maintain, as an amateur psychologist, that he's in search of something in life but doesn't know what it is, and or else he'd still be in Cleveland winning championships. And so there's that. And then, of course, there's the old issue, will he be available to them? I know that Sean Marks, the GM, is counting. I mean, I take it from what I read in the New York papers, that Sean Marks, they're counting on Mayor Adams changing the rules, and that by the time the games that matter come along, that really matter, that Kyrie will be able to play every night, no matter what city they're in. I think they're counting on that. And fine. All right. But if that doesn't happen, it's going to be a bizarre circumstance in which they'll be the first team in the history of the NBA hoping to play Game 7 on the road. Or so that much we do know. Anyway, but there's complicating factors here. It's not a just plug in this, plug in that, and that. No, we all know that there's a reason. There's reasons why Kyrie Irving is there, and there's a reason why Ben Simmons is there. There's even a reason why the other guy's there. Why isn't he still in Golden State? So it's you're right about Nash. He's going to earn his money.
Yeah, I got to think that locker room is going to be. I'm sure it'll be great in the beginning. There's always a honeymoon phase, but talk to me after they get eliminated in the playoffs, and I got to think there's going to be some finger pointing. That crew is famous for finger pointing. Those individuals are for sure.
Yep. So it's a combustible situation, and they got rid of one problem, but they've exchanged it for another. And how fortunate. Let's get to my fun part about this, which is that the guy who won out on all this was Daryl Morey. He proved me wrong and many others. Those of us who maintained that he was foolish to squander this whole season, trade the guy, get 25 cents, 50 cents on the dollar, get something, get him out of. He doesn't want to play for you. All right, get rid of him. No, he's going to hold out for a high caliber return. And he on paper he got it. He got what he wanted. And I didn't think he could, but he did. So congratulations to Daryl Morey for that. I'll give him that.
He sure did. At least that he got his white whale. He and James Harden have been connected for so many years, and it's who he wanted. And if he didn't get him this season, he was determined to get him next season. Tried to get him last season. I was a little frustrated by it, watching it, especially when you see Tyrese Halliburton getting traded. I thought if you could have gotten Tyrese Halliburton, Harrison Barnes, and a pick, that would have been a great deal for Ben Simmons. But
oh boy,
yeah. I mean, I thought that was on the table, right? How do you think Harden fits?
Well, everyone is talking about the potential of a historic pick and roll with Embiid and Harden, and maybe it will turn out to be just that. Maybe it will. We'll see. Now, I must admit that James Harden last year fooled me in terms of his willingness to reinvent himself into something of a real point guard. His assist totals really astonished me, and I think he did his best to fit in with his all-star teammates in a slightly subdued manner for him. I still don't like watching him play. He still pounds it too much for me, but somehow or other those assists mysteriously materialize in the morning box score. I don't remember any of them, but they always tell us they're there. I don't know whether he's bribed every scorekeeper in the league or not. He does get assist totals, but
no, that was his old teammate Westbrook.
They're a lab experiment, as the Lakers were one before the season, and we saw how that turned out. They are a lab experiment. Well, both of these teams are, really, because of the nature of the people that they're getting. And keep in mind, of course, that Daryl Morey lucked out in that Harden Well, maybe he didn't luck out. Maybe it was, who knows? Maybe they conspired, but Harden made himself a poison pill and untenable in New Jersey to make himself available. And, maybe there was more to it than we know, but it did happen. Anyway, I'm curious. Look, Mike, I'm just curious to see each of these two teams play and their new guys. We're all curious. And that's the best way I can put it. I'm not calling, disaster in either case. Maybe it'll work out. Let's see.
I think, listen, the Nets thing aside, if you're a Philadelphia sports fan right now, you're rooting for two things to happen: the Sixers to work out and the Nets to combust, because that's it's almost like following two sports right now. I mean, I think more people watch the Simmons press conference than the Harden press conference. But if you getting back to the Harden fit in Philly, what's interesting to me, and you and your vast NBA knowledge, the way this fits, in my opinion, I don't see it as a great pick and roll fit, because I don't see Embiid as a good roller. He's not a good diver to the basket. He's not gonna catch alley oops. It's just not who he is and what his strength is. But what would be interesting for me to watch is Harden and Embiid in a two-man game, whether it's dribble handoff or what have you on one side. And who are you going to double team? Because both of them command a double team every time they touch the ball, which opens it up for a guy like Tyrese Maxey to attack the basket. To me, that's the interesting part.
Well, that's a good point. And of course, with Embiid, we might have to say it might be a pick and pop rather than pick and roll. For sure. And that's fine. Okay. You're right. You mentioned Maxey. I've been a member of the Maxey fan club since I first saw him in Kentucky. So I'm happy the way he is blossoming and showing the world how good he is. And it'll be. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
I thought the Sixers had a great thing going. I thought that seemed like they had that overused word, chemistry, whatever word, but they had a good team flow going, and they seemed to be working very well. There was nothing wrong with, I don't know. I think they could have gone a long way the way they were, but without him, and with the way Maxey was playing, and with Seth Curry, who was shooting more higher percentage than his brother last night, notwithstanding.
Right.
But the All-Star game was rather
that was something.
In that regard. But anyway, I thought they had would you have been comfortable if they hadn't done nothing and he sat there and rotted all year and they let's see what that team could have accomplished?
I was not. I know a lot of Sixers fans were. They just didn't have enough, in my opinion. Look, it looks good on a regular season game because Seth Curry can hit those shots, and Maxey has been spectacular, and Embiid has been otherworldly. The problem is we saw it last year against Atlanta. Seth Curry can't guard anybody, and a team is going to attack him. Kevin Huerter had put up 27 points on him in Game 7, just going at him the whole time, and there was nothing the Sixers could do. Seth Curry is a really good player, but you can't depend on him in a playoff game, in my opinion, as being one of your main guys. And while Maxey has really made strides, I think getting somebody else on the team, obviously Harden withstanding, but even somebody that was just an upgrade, much less, a top 10 player like Harden, it'll open things up for Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris isn't good enough to be your second best player, or maybe not even your third best player, but he's going to be a damn good fourth best player, in my opinion. So I know that, the spite in me would say, yeah, let Ben Simmons rot for a year. But you know what? Embiid is having too good of a season. He's too much fun to watch. And I just thought he deserved some help. That's okay. My opinion.
All right, good. I'll accept that. You're much closer to the situation than I. And that's a good point. I had not taken that point about Curry's defense into consideration. And the playoffs are a different animal. And I should know after all these years, the dynamics of playoffs and individual series and how how things are much different than they are in the regular season. So yes, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, somebody who follows Boston as closely as you, it was Brad Stevens that, put the spotlight on the world to Ben Simmons' weakness in the playoffs. It was that 2018 series when, the Celtics lined up across the free throw line and dared him to drive because he wasn't going to get through four people, and he certainly wasn't going to shoot it over him. And he was, basketball impotent in that series. And that is what's happened to him in every playoff series since.
Well, once again, when it's all said and done, I just don't understand his thinking. I don't understand how he could have allowed himself to evolve in this manner. But that, I'm sure I'm hardly alone in wondering what's really going on in that head that he has. After his rookie year, I said, okay, well, it's obvious what they're going to do. They're going to lock him in a gym for 3 hours a game with an armed guard in the summer and make him shoot 1,000 jump shots. And next year he's going to, because I've seen guys improve. I've seen many, many great players improve over this course of their career. And he'll be only the latest who will do that. And yet, obviously, it never happened. He won't do it, obviously. And so whatever that, once again, I don't trust it. I don't want to rely on a guy like that.
I agree with you 1,000%. And, I was actually president of his fan club until last year. My thought was, I don't care if he shot 3-pointers. All I wanted him to do was be a 70% free throw shooter, because if he was, he could attack the basket, get fouled, hit 7 out of 10 and do all the other things he does. I'm fine with it. And you know what? Something got in his head, and, look, I'm not going to debate anybody as to, what his mental illness is, or if he has it, or if he's faking. I don't even want to get into that discussion. Yeah. No, but there's something there, to your point.
We can't win. No, we can't win on that one.
No.
His interview was contradictory in a way, and so I anyway, that's who he is, and it finally got resolved, and now we're all sitting around waiting to see this thing on the court. I'm dying to see it.
Bob, I want to get into a few other topics with you. One of the things that I do on this podcast is I don't make any money on it, but I use this platform for charity. And the big charity that I care about is called Small Miracles. My daughter had a brain tumor in 2017. She is now 18 years old. And we actually had an MRI this morning. And once again, which we get every 6 months, and she had 18 months of chemotherapy. And after after that was through, we have to get a scan every 6 months to make sure it didn't grow. We found out the good news today that it did not grow. So we get 6 more months. But what she has done is she has used what she's gone through to help others. And she started a charity. She's raised over $80,000 for kids at Children's Hospital that are going through chemotherapy, where she noticed something, and it was amazing that the hospitals really cater to the young kids, the toddlers, the babies, but the teenagers really don't have anything for them. And she's raised money, gotten them iPads, and so that they can journal, socks so they can keep their extremities warm. And if you want to check out the charity, it's the website is smallmiraclesinc.org, or if you want to donate to it, it's at small_miracles. She's been accepted to Notre Dame, her dream school. Her scan was clear today, so we're very excited. She's got a lot to look forward to, and that is my PSA for the day.
That's very commendable, and you should be. I know you're very proud. I don't have to say you should be. I'm sure you are.
Incredibly.
And I'm certainly now pulling for it. Thank you. For enlightening me.
Thank you. And for those just joining, Bob Ryan, legendary sports writer, 4-time National Sports Writer of the Year from the Boston Globe, is on a cell phone under my microphone right here because we had a few technical difficulties and I didn't want to pass up the chance to talk to him. So, Bob, I got to talk to you about this because I feel like this is something, since we spoke last time, that I've been dying to ask you about. So when I was a young journalism major back in the late 80s, early 90s, obviously things are a lot different. And, just talking about this Ben Simmons, James Harden trade and the trade deadline, there's no stories being broken anymore. It's what agent feeds Woj or Shams first, or, which NBA executive wants to put a spin and put it into, give it to them first. I find that frustrating. I'm wondering how you see how sports journalism has evolved, especially story breaking.
I myself I viewed myself as a writer, and as a reporter, I was okay. it was, you have to do your due diligence. I wasn't big into breaking stories myself when I did it. I left that to others. I always looked at it that for me that you get dependent on people telling you things, and then you're at the mercy of whether or not they're telling you the truth, or whether they know what the hell they're talking about. B, and so I had to have a really good reason. The only time I ever got much into story breaking was in the Bird era, because I had the best personal relationship with Bird of any of the Boston media, and so I could get a few things occasionally out of him that would be constituted as news and dare I say, a scoop. I never lived for that, Mike. It's that I don't even look. I don't even think about it in those terms. I do know this, that when the last year I was on the beat full time, believe it or not, was 87, 88. And those days, this is, ESPN's 10 years old. They don't have the insiders yet. The whole insider thing is not taking full shape in broadcast media. My biggest competitor for news, if you will, and insight wasn't in Boston. It was Peter Vesey at the New York Post. And
by the way, a 3-time guest on the Killing Me Smalls podcast.
And Peter Vesey was the newsbreaker, and he had the best contacts of anybody, of agents, of players, of he was the standard, and and so there'd be times when my boss would go, "Whoa, Vesey had this," oh boy, and more than anybody in Boston, so he was my de facto competitor, and it was a friendly competition. We are friends. We were friends then, and we're friends now, and I thought he was terrific at what he did, and anyway, if anybody kept me on my toes to a degree, it was Peter Vesey, and so now as far as what's happening, here's something going on that is, I know that, and the COVID has provided an excuse for teams to restrict access and apparently to continue to restrict access. Commissioner Adam Silver disturbed a lot of people in our business when he intimated that perhaps the locker room situation no longer needs to be restored. Does not need to be restored to its pre-COVID methodology, and which is going to be shattering to the beat people and detrimental ultimately to the reader. But that's what's going on. That could be going on. They've used this as an excuse. I'm very, very happy I'm not doing it now. The restrictions, the everything about it is not as comfortable or as easy or frankly as much fun as we had in what was without question the golden age of NBA media coverage, and NBA media life, which was the 80s. And anyone will tell you that will live through it. You won't find a dissenter, I promise you that. And I'm so happy I don't have to put up with the nonsense today. And that predates COVID. And now after post-COVID, giving them this opportunity to clamp down, keep you away, it's going to be bad. I'm just happy I'm no part of it.
There's some really good writers that cover the Sixers that I enjoy reading. Some of them have been on this podcast, Keith Pompey for one. And, it's just very rare that, everything goes to Woj and Shams. It's almost like there's been a mafia deal that you can't give no local beat writers a lot of break anything. It seems like
a generation or two has grown up accustomed to that's the deal. That, what matters is TV. What matters is ESPN or other outlets, and that's the world that they have inhabited and they're comfortable with and that they know. Not to mention their own ability to take care of their branding.
Right.
A word that didn't exist 35 years ago, and so the poor old beat guy, from the fact that they've taken away his seat and exiled him to the terrible places to watch the game. You can't report on the game accurately anymore because you're not even sitting on courtside to see, and also importantly to hear what's going on. So the game, and of course, people have abandoned game stories as such anyway, for the most part, which is sad. That's what I lived. That's what I took the greatest pride of anything I've ever done is writing deadline game stories that would have insight and and humor and everything else.
And quotes from players that nobody else got.
I quotes from players and owners, players and coaches, and
Right.
all put together in 45 minutes to an hour, which the average person would not have the faintest idea how to do, because that's what I did for a living, and as opposed to someone else where I wouldn't have the faintest idea to do what he or she did. But I did it, and I know I did it very well, and I'm proud of what I did. It's not even asked for anymore. Your job description is different. So it's the world changes, and it's but not always for the better. I think most of us would agree to that. And in terms of journalism, it has not changed for the better.
Well, I got to give a plug to my guy, Austin Krell, who works with us here at the Painted Lines. Make sure you subscribe to the Painted Lines. Austin does a great game story after every game, and really does a nice job of covering the team.
Well, that's good, because it's an art form.
Yeah.
And it enhanced a fan's enjoyment of the whole product, of the whole experience of being a fan. If you did it well, it gave them an extra layer. The game was over, and then the next morning you can relive the game in a way that is no longer possible. People don't do it that way anymore.
I got to get you out of here on this. Did you see the Juwan Howard situation in the game against Wisconsin?
It's funny. Here's the funny part for me, Mike. I was watching the game.
Oh, were you? You saw live.
And with 15 seconds to go, I said, well, it's over now. I remember when the ball changed hands. I said, okay, they got it's over. And I switched to Providence. I went because I knew they had been way back, and I knew they had a chance to. I want to see how they were doing in their comeback bid. And of course, they did pull that game out. And so it wasn't until afterward that I found out about the incident, and I immediately went and I saw it.
It's everywhere now. Yeah.
I saw it up, and I've we've all seen it, countless times. Where do you start? They're both culpable. Start. Number one, why? People haven't made enough out of this. It all starts because Juwan Howard is putting on pressure, up 14 points with 15 seconds to go. Why is he picking teams up in the backcourt? Why is he even doing that? A. B. Great guard then goes through this whole convoluted explanation as to why he called the times out. And his walk-ons didn't want to embarrass them that they couldn't get the ball in. Or I couldn't even follow it. Stupid explanation. So now the game ends, and we know what happened. Howard tried to blow by, and guard intercepted him and put his hand on him, to which Howard completely, in my judgment, overreacted. Get your hands off me. Oh, yeah, like the little guard is going to bother Juwan Howard. You say, hey, don't, and we all know it escalated from there. And
Right.
We all know that you don't go a open hand. You don't hit the other guy. And, there's plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around in both cases. And but I really think you start with, why is he pressing? And that was cited by guard. But guard's explanation was complete coach speak gobbledygook nonsense. Okay, his as to why he called the times out, second time out, and what happened is indefensible. And Ward Manuel's got a big decision on his hand as the AD. How much suspension? Because clearly suspension's totally in order, and the league, the Big Ten has to make a decision, and it's highly unfortunate.
It's been my experience, Bob, that these things are never from the game or what happened in the game. This is something we're going to hear. I'm just reading the tea leaves. We're going to hear that there was a recruit that was supposed to go to Michigan that, guard chain, talked him out of it. You're going to hear something. I guarantee it.
Very good point. Excellent point. We're going to hear it. Right. You're right. Well, it was really ugly. That escalated, and they both should be highly embarrassed because it escalated, temporarily into a really ugly sight, a really dangerous sight, and they're lucky it didn't turn out even worse in terms of people throwing more punches and guys maybe wrestling, and God knows what would have happened. But I do say that there's blame on both sides, and that's a very good point. So I'll be keeping my ears open for that.
Yeah.
But I've heard everything recommended by neutrals or outside,
Right.
from a 2-game suspension to the rest of the season. Excuse me. But he's got to get something substantial. But maybe rest of the regular season, and I don't know. But you can't do it. Also, his problem here is, as I had forgotten, is that he's a recidivist. He had an incident in the Big Ten tournament last year. And yes, everyone agrees he's a nice guy. I've admired him since the time he was doing the PSAs for literacy, if you remember, encouraging kids to read. That's what he was doing instead of doing commercials.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I should maybe in addition to doing commercials. Back when he was playing.
Yeah, he was the smart one, right? That's what they used to of the Fab Four, Fab Five.
And everybody speaks so highly of him in every way, and I think we're all applauding his initial success there as the coach. This year, of course, there's a lot of pressure. They were touted, and obviously having a much less successful season than he anticipated. Anyway, I hope it doesn't completely. Well, I don't know. Ruin it. I think he'll survive in the end. But he brought this, in a measure on himself. Yeah,
I'm guessing season suspension or something like that. It's going to be definitely something. Well, Bob, I know I've taken up a lot of your time. I know that you grinded in there with me through the technical issues, and I love talking with you. And if you ever come to Philadelphia for a game, please let me know. I definitely want to have you back on the podcast. And
that'd be great. I'd be happy to. As I said, I am very fond of Philadelphia. I grew up, at 33rd and Chestnut or Locust was it, and 21st and Lehigh. Okay, those are addresses that mean something to me, and I go way back with the Philadelphia teams in the 50s, and so I mean I did grow up in Trenton, and I always gravitated to Philly, so I'm happy to be heard, and I'm and in the heyday of Philly rock and roll, WIBG, the Wibbage with Joe Niagara. So I can talk some Philly with you.
We can do that next time, but just do me a favor. Next time you're on the Ringer, can you get Bill Simmons to ease up on us a little bit?
Okay.
Bob, thanks so much for joining the podcast. Thanks everybody for listening. Please follow me at Real Mike Small on Twitter, and I'll follow you right back. Also, please subscribe to the Painted Lines. You get podcasts like this. You get great game stories and everything about all Philadelphia sports. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We'll see you next time.
This is Ian Rappaport from NFL Network. You're killing me, Smalls.
This is Bucky Brooks of the NFL Network. You're killing me, Smalls.
Hey, this is Chris Hack, president of the 76ers. I just want to say, you're killing me, Smalls.
Hey, this is former Sixer and Tar Heel George Lynch. Smalls, you're killing me.
Hi, this is Kenny Albert. You're killing me, Smalls.
You're killing me, Smalls.